In this edition of RPP News, a battle lost in Capel Sound, world recognition for Western Port, and it's time to sharpen your pencils. Hello, I'm Catie Sharp. Welcome to the latest edition of RPP News, bringing you stories from across Frankston and the Mornington Peninsula. A 17-year-old from Frankston has been charged with murder. The teenager was arrested after a 34-year-old man's body was found in Surrey Road, South Yarra last Saturday night. The victim was allegedly stabbed to death. The youth will appear before the Children's Court. Two residents have refused to leave their homes at Peninsula Eco Beach in Capel Sound following its closure last Friday. Dale Toriro and 28 other unit owners were forced to leave the facility after the property owners RC1 were declared insolvent. Administrators offered residents $90,000 for single units and $140,000 for double units, well below market price. Mr. Toriro initially wanted to stay and fight the eviction notice, but after holding out for 5 days, decided to leave after taking further legal advice.
I could have stayed in there. I ended up there for 5 days, so I was ready to give up. Not give up, but I was going to hang out till this weekend or next Monday, but there's no point. I'm sort of banging my head against the wall. So I have taken the offer. When I went back, I did the paperwork with the lawyer, and he goes, look, we're not finished yet.
Mr. Toriro says he has instructed his lawyer to take the matter to the Australian Securities and Investments Commission. Meanwhile, local member Sam Groth has stated he will raise the matter in Parliament. Police are urging motorists to take extra care on the roads over the long weekend as the number of lives lost surges to a 16-year high. Operation Regal, which launched on Friday, will see police ramp up enforcement across the state in an effort to drive down road trauma. It follows a loss of 31 lives during May, more than double the same month last year, and 5 fatalities in the first week of June. There have now been 142 lives lost on Victorian roads in 2023, up 37% on the same time last year. Police are focusing on speed, impaired driving, distraction and disobeying traffic signs. Last year, police issued more than 5,000 infringement notices during Operation Regal, more than 40% of which were speeding offences. World organisation UNESCO has added the Western Port Biosphere to the agency's World Network of Coastal and Island Biospheres. Supporters claim Western Port's inclusion will increase awareness of and help conserve the Asia-Australasia flyway for the thousands of migratory birds that visit Western Port's protected Ramsar wetlands each year. Thursday the 15th of June is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. On this day, individuals and organisations lend their voice to the rights of older people and make a public stand against the abuse inflicted on some of our older generations. The Australian Institute of Family Studies estimates up to 14% of older people face abuse. This year, Karingal Place is hosting a talk on financial knowledge for seniors on the 14th. If you're an older person and want to equip yourself with financial knowledge, book your spot today. Then on the 15th, the Peninsula Advisory Committee for Elders will be hosting an information stall at Rosebud Plaza with free resources and support services. Locals are encouraged to drop by, have a chat and pick up some flyers and purple ribbon awareness pins. And time is running out to enter this year's Mayor's Short Story Awards. Hosted by Mornington Peninsula Shire and the Peninsula Writers Club, the awards aim to encourage and support local writers of all abilities, celebrate our diverse talent and showcase local stories and voices. Categories are split by age and will be judged by such talent as Elsa Fitzgerald and Gary Disher. Prizes include bookstore vouchers and a 2-week Police Point artist residency. Go to the council website to submit your story. Applications close on the 23rd of June. And now to David Robertson with the Bendigo Bank monthly market update.
Another Reserve Bank rate hike, now taking the cash rate above our forecast peak for 2023. What are the implications and what will influence the RBA in the months ahead? The June hike to an official cash rate of 4.1% is now deeply in contractionary territory. And while the language from the RBA hasn't markedly changed, their impatience to get the inflation rate back to target within a reasonable timeframe clearly risks the soft landing that was our preferred scenario and further lifts the probability of a hard landing recession. As the chart shows, the 4% of rate hikes in 14 months isn't as aggressive a path as other comparable central banks have taken, but given the high share of variable rate mortgages here, will continue to steadily impact domestic demand. And recent retail sales, consumer sentiment and jobs data all point to higher rates starting to slow the economy down. We're still expected to have a lower peak in rates than elsewhere, but while the RBA again stated their aim to keep the economy on an even keel, a cash rate above 4% makes this outcome much less likely. The RBA decision was no doubt impacted by the recent uptick in inflation in the monthly series for April, although that increase was mainly due to base effects from the halving of the fuel excise tax in April 22. But their comment that while goods price inflation is slowing, services price inflation is still very high, tells us that the RBA board will maintain its tightening bias for some time. Our recent peak in inflation was at a lower level than comparable economies, although our decline since the peak is clearly not fast enough for the RBA. We still expect inflation to steadily fall to around 3.5% by year end. And while this latest hike will speed up the path to 3% in 2024, it will also see a faster rise in unemployment and underemployment. The unemployment rate rose to 3.7% in April, and we expect the jobless rate to be around 4.5% by year end, well above the RBA forecast of 4%, and at risk of a faster deterioration as the economy slows. The RBA forecast of unemployment not exceeding 4.5% through 2025 therefore appears very ambitious given the extent of policy tightening. GDP growth, currently around 2.5%, will continue to decelerate. Our soft landing scenario forecasts real growth of just 1% this year, but even this will be harder to achieve depending on where the cash rate ultimately peaks. From here, the key data points for the RBA are the next labour market report on June 15th, the monthly CPI on June 28th, and quarterly CPI out on July 26th, and developments in property markets after the recent uptick in CoreLogic house values, but fall in building approvals in April. The RBA will also be keeping a close eye on unit labour costs and on offshore developments. But even if this is the peak in official cash rates, relief via rate cuts remains well down the track. And lastly, the Aussie dollar is higher after the rate decision near 67 US cents, and news of further policy support in China for their property sector and via infrastructure investment may provide further support to commodity prices. Australia's trade surplus remains a strength, and offshore demand for our exports will be crucial to offset much slower domestic demand. And that's the market update from Bendigo Bank.
And after the break, we will be back with Bianca with this week's weather update.
Everyone knows Australia has 4 big banks, but the 5th biggest retail bank is snapping at their heels. It's a bank that's been around for over 160 years, can be found in over 500 locations nationwide, looks after over 1.8 million customers, and is regularly voted one of the most trusted brands out of all the thousands of brands in Australia. Who is this fantastic number 5? Yep, it's Bendigo Bank. The better big bank.
Established in 1988, Progress Signs has been servicing the local community for 30 years. Located on the Mornington Peninsula, they are the #1 destination for all your signage needs, specialising in a variety of signage from vehicles to shop fronts, occasional and corporate events, short-term, long-term, and everything in between. If it's signs you need, be it large or small, Progress Signs is the place to call. Available 24/7 at progress-signs.com.au or call the team on 5975 9188. Thinking signs? Think Progress Signs, a station sponsor.
Battery World now open in Mornington.
We know batteries. We know our 75 D23Ls from our DIN 65 LHs. And we know which is best for you. We have the range and a spark no one else can match, because we live and breathe batteries, those beautiful boxes and cylinders that power our lives and our passions. That's why we're the batteryologists. We're Battery World.
Battery World Shop 1, 43 Mornington Tyre Road, Mornington.
Welcome back. We go now to Bianca for this week's weather update.
Hello, I'm Bianca and welcome to this week's RPP weather update. Well, we have had some warm moments over the last week, but the nights have been cold with the chill factor and the wind certainly reminding us we are in the winter months. Let's dive in and check out what is coming in the week ahead. Today, Sunday the 11th of June, should bring us a cloudy day with some sunny periods. No rain is predicted. We should reach a low of 9 and a high of 15. Monday should see much the same as Sunday. We can expect a low of 8 and a top of 15. Tuesday will be the same again with the possibility of some light rain. We can expect a top of 14 and a low of 7. Wednesday sees this trend continue with a low of 8 and a high of 13. Thursday sees the rain easing a bit with some sunny periods throughout the day. We should reach a high of 13 and a low of 8. Friday brings us a mostly cloudy day. We can expect a top of 11 and a low of 9. And finally, Saturday will bring us a mostly cloudy day with showers in the evening. We should reach a high of 12 and a low of 9. Well, that's all for this week. Try to stay warm and dry. I will see you again next week with another RPP weather update.
And finally to our surf guru Muzz for the surf report.
Hi, welcome back to this week's Mornington Peninsula Surf Report. Had a pretty good week last week, especially on Thursday and Friday with a big swell, although I must say Friday morning was pretty hectic in the water. There's a lot of, not sharing waves around at the moment. I saw many waves getting ridden. Well, there's a lot of people out for a Friday morning at Shoreham. There was probably 50 people out, and I saw many waves with 4 or 5 people just getting burnt in a row. So it wasn't a great run considering how good the surf was. Just be a bit nice at each other in the water. It's getting a little hectic, and that swell sort of continued through the weekend. It did drop out, and then the wind went round to the northeast. And then come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we were on the beach breaks. So just small waves on the beaches, but there was nice waves to be had if you looked around and went to little pockets. So it was a bit of fun. This week in front of us, today, Friday, the swell's going to start pushing up a little bit, and the wind is okay. It's not great, but finally there'll be a little bit more swell, and that'll go into Saturday, probably peak late on Saturday afternoon. So with the incoming tide, there should be waves in Westerport, and they should be fairly reasonable. So and the wind looks all right, and that swell will continue into Sunday. Then it'll start backing off again, but then the wind's going to go back around to the north again, and there's a fairly good chance there might be all right beach breaks again, like the same as this week, maybe a little bigger through on the Tuesday, Wednesday, but definitely the outlook's still all right for some decent fun waves to be had by all. So enjoy, and I'll see you next week.
And that's all from our team here at RPP News, serving the community with stories that matter to you. Keep watching and do tell your friends. Bringing the news from coast to coast across Frankston and the Mornington Peninsula, I'm Catie Sharp. See you for the next edition.